Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Zoom into Wine. It's time for the show and your host, Ian Blackburn.
All right. Welcome to everybody. I hope you guys are having a great day. We had a phenomenal Stars of Cabernet trade session. Really the best in the wine industry in Los Angeles and beyond. My jacket's not cooperating. From all over the place. We had just an incredible audience, and it was a thrill. The wines were showing awesome. I think you guys are up for a really big night tonight. I want to thank you for being here. It's been a wonderful period time putting this together. We've got some just really wonderful wine producers, and I love the audience that we're pulling together on these events. I know that the world is opened back up, and Zoom isn't exactly the only thing that people want to do anymore. But I still think it's a great way to get people together over a discussion, hear the stories, and be able to taste these beautiful wines, and we can do it very economically. So we're going to continue with our STARS events going into 2022, and we will start to produce some live events very, very soon. But we need a couple more dominoes to fall for it to make sense for everybody, and it's just getting to that point right now where we can go out and start to plan things without getting hurt. We had a really successful event with LA Magazine this Sunday. It was beautiful, and a few things that have gone well in the near term here. So I'm starting to gain some confidence, and I just want to thank you all for your support and hope that you enjoy our effort tonight. My team works really hard on this. We will have washed, prepared, labeled, shipped. I think the count was over 1,000 little jars, about 1,200 jars for this event. Kind of a record around here. So it's great work for us. We love it, and the jars are working out pretty damn well. They're nice little decanters, and the wines are showing great. So with that, I want to get right into our program and thank a lot of folks that are here with us tonight. We've got people all over the place tuning in, and let's get right into our program. Let's see here. I've got my little slideshow. Alex, can you put that slideshow for me in the WhatsApp? I appreciate it. Had it open and I just closed it. Did you guys hear the news today? A lot of Napa Valley wineries today. Frank family sold to Treasury Wine Estates. That's a big deal. Good for the Franks. A nice little exit strategy. He's getting older and all that, but wow. Maybe that happened a few days ago and you guys have heard that around the industry. Mike, did you know that, Trujillo?
That's news to me.
Yeah, I got a news flash.
I was just talking to one of the reps today. He didn't even mention it.
Yeah, I usually get a little bit of a something on a deal like that, but that's a pretty. I mean, leave it to Richard Frank. We are live on Facebook. If any of you have never visited our Zoom into Wine page, that's where we're located, and you can always access that. If you have to disappear or go offline, you want to go back and watch a part, it's there forever, and it works out really well. And soon we're going to start doing these straight to YouTube as well, but right now we clean up the video and post it to YouTube. So there's a whole basically catalog of all the Zooms we've ever done down at the bottom of Merchant of Wine, and we're getting a larger and larger viewing audience every month, so that's kind of fun. Maybe we actually get paid for that someday. All right, let's get into it. This is our night one, and this is going to be our lineup tonight, kind of following a nice order, kind of based on price. So we'll start with Mr. Trujillo and work into Medlock Ames. And if you don't have this tasting mat, you might want to check your email. We definitely sent out the tasting mat and the brochure to everybody so you could print that out and have it for you. There's also good contact information inside there. Right about 7:30, 8 o'clock, an email is going to go into your inbox that will also link you to each of the wineries. Stars of Cabernet, most of these wines are available direct from the wineries, and some of them have some special offers and stuff like that. So look for that email, special opportunity for you to hook up with one of these wineries. And this is really the way, when you go to wine country, you want to go for a wine tour, you want to be on the winery's list of customers, people that have actually acquired, stuff like that. You will get some better appointments availability, and this is the way the wine industry is going to be operating going forward, a little bit more direct to consumer. Also, Mike, but just before we kick, I just wanted to also see, is Greg out there tonight? Greg Gura's with our charity.
Yes, I'm here. How are you, Ian?
Are you Vegas, buddy?
I'm Vegas full time.
All right. So Greg moved to Vegas, but still helping us with our silent auction. Greg will paste into the chat if he hasn't already. He might have.
Yep, I already put one link on there letting everybody know that this time we really discounted the wines that all the great wineries have donated. You know, we usually started off about 50% off retail. Tonight and tomorrow we're doing it 75%, so we really want to get a lot of active bids on there.
The idea is we get you to bid early, and if you don't get outbid, you got a great deal. And if you do get outbid, you raised money for the charity just by being outbid. So get in there and buy some wine. You're going to see how great these wines are, and they're going to bid up. They're going to bid up to at or over value. It's okay to overpay for a bottle of wine on a charity auction, by the way.
Yeah, if you guys wind up overbidding, we'll give you a tax receipt for that, for the extra money that you spent, and that's a tax write-off.
There you go. And there's some really cool other stuff on there as well. So check it out. Don't leave anything unbid on, and clean up tonight. The auction will stay open until Friday night, right, Greg?
Yeah. We're Wednesday, Thursday. It's open till Friday night at 9 p.m. And just remember, if there's wine there that, you know, if you don't need it, maybe somebody, you know, the holidays are coming up, make a great gift, you know, somebody in your office or a family member.
Very cool. And we send these funds to Children's Hospital Los Angeles. Nice. And we're nudging our way towards $700,000 in donations, and it's just little bits at a time. So,
yep. Yeah, I hope you guys were there 2018 when we presented Ian with a nice award for reaching $500,000 raised through his events here for Children's Hospital Los Angeles.
It's right there on my wall. You guys can't see it, but I love that. So. All right, back into it, Mike. Let's get some Cabernet going.
I'm ready.
Here's
Mike. Hello everyone. Great to be here this evening. I'm very proud of what we're presenting. I see my peers on board. I'm very proud of them as well, bringing you Napa Valley tonight. So tonight I'm going to be showing you my 17 Napa Valley Cabernet. This is my entry-level Cabernet that I do. It's a combination of a number of vineyards that I source from, Rutherford being one, AVA, Hell Mountain, and I have a vineyard here in St. Helena. So my history of winemaking goes back into the early 80s when I arrived here from Colorado on a school break from college. For some reason, I never made it back. I worked with the Allens for pretty much most of my career, and eventually became the winemaker, and then later became the head winemaker and CEO for Sequoia Grove. But I've stepped away from that in 2018 to strictly concentrate on what I'm doing under the Trujillo label. So in my career, I've had many projects. One of the most notable ones is Carl Lawrence that I founded in 1991. But in 2010 and 2011, I pulled out of there, sold my interest, and rebooted to Trujillo. The cool thing is as much as Carl Lawrence was famous and sought after, is in my negotiations out of Carl Lawrence, I took all of the vineyard sourcing with me. So that was part of the negotiations. So today, Trujillo Wines is pretty much the same wine that Carl Lawrence used to be. and actually has the same winemaker. So that's kind of fun. So Trujillo is a new brand as of 2011. And for me, it's all about Cabernet. I love making Cabernet Sauvignon, and that's what Trujillo Cab is. Now, I do have a supplement label, a companion label that is named after my daughter. I saw Ian throw that slide up there briefly. And that's a label called Madeleine. And here, this is just a fun wine. It serves as a tool for me to have diversity in my tasting room, my wine club, when I go out on the road, do winemaker dinners and so on. This is a more fun, whimsical wine that I make a white, rosé, and a red blend under. So just more fun, a little bit more affordable, and named after my daughter. But tonight, it's all about Cabernet Sauvignon. And what I'm very, very proud of is my vineyard sourcing, my relationships with many, many of my growers. I've had a relationship with Gary Morrison right in the heart of Rutherford for well over 3 decades. I love this vineyard. I love his style of farming. I love what this produces. It is the main base to all of my blends. The Trujillo Cabernet, the main Napa Valley Cabernet, is about almost 55% Gary Morrison vineyard year after year after year. Now, another vineyard that I source from is Pili Vineyard, and this is also a vineyard that I've been working with for 3 decades. Jim Healy is the owner. This is actually a vineyard that's right adjacent to the Spotswood Vineyard. The climate's a little cooler there. The style of this Cabernet is a little softer, more velvety, more cocoa, mocha is the way I describe this, plush and lush. And then a third vineyard that I have is up on Howe Mountain. And that is a vineyard that we call Henry Brothers. This is a vineyard that I actually established under Carl Lawrence. And here I have all 5 Bordeaux varietals planted and growing, which is really cool because to have that Merlot, Franc, Petit Verdot, and Malbec in my tool belt when I go to blend really, really makes a big impact and a big difference. One vineyard that I don't have a slide for is a new vineyard I'm working with now here in the Oaknall district, up on the western slopes of the Oaknall district. And that'll be coming into my arsenal for great grapes, making my cab. So the Trujillo 2017 Cabernet is those 3 vineyards coming together, a Bordeaux blend. My style is more of, I want varietal expression. I want nice, silky, elegant red wine. I'm not into the sort of the powerhouse concept. I kind of lean a little bit more to finesse and ageability. I'm a believer as a winemaker that, a balanced wine is a very ageable wine. So my wines have a history of going easily 15 years into the future. So, that's what my wine's all about. Hope you guys have those all in front of you, right?
Yeah, I do. And we send it to you, Michael, or are you tasting from your own bottle?
I'm tasting from my own bottle. I have a whole stash of this.
Very cool. Well, sometimes we do send the jars up to some of the wine producers to get that. But what are you smelling right now in the nose of this wine, Michael?
What I like, you definitely get Cabernet, and what I like is you get all of the attributes of all the AVAs that come into play. Rutherford is definitely known for its, dusty, dark black cherry. And when I smell this wine, I do get some of those earthy notes, and it kind of gives the foundation to the wine.
Is that the Morrison part?
That would be the Morrison Vineyard, which is on the western side of the Rutherford AVA. So when I smell this wine, I do get a little bit of that sort of what I call dusty cherry. On top of it, by blending in the Howe Mountain, you bring in a little bit more of the black fruit, a little bit of the more blackberry, a little denser, a little heavier, a little bit more horsepower on that Cabernet side. And then I bring in that Healy vineyard that I mentioned that's really, more of the velvet glove, more cocoa mocha. So what I like about the 3 AVAs is they really complement each other very, very well.
And the mouthfeel on this wine is just really sexy and got wonderful tannin tension. I can really pick up on the Howe Mountain nuance in the nose. It's got that dustiness is there, but I also get that kind of that high tone, like, I don't know, it's kind of like I guess I've heard it described as like gunmetal or hot metal or something like that. It's kind of a metallic note that Hal Mountain I think kind of attributes to all wines, and I get a little bit of that. I love it. I love it. Any of you out there want to make any comments? Oleg, how you doing with that? Like that? Let me see where Hector.
Yeah, Michael, I love your wines, and they always come up with a really amazing, lush, plush kind of sense. And I love the hang time too, that just allows me to enjoy it even longer. It's just beautiful, amazing.
Thank you, Hector.
I love how you orchestrate those 3 vineyards. Is there a percentage in this particular one that you pull from, or?
As far as tonnage and harvest, Morrison is my bigger bounty that I get every vintage. But as you may know, I also make reserve wines. So when Mother Nature really lines everything up perfectly for me, I will create a vineyard designate reserve. Morrison almost 8 out of 10 times makes that cut, where maybe the other 2 vineyards fold into the main cab. So when I do a vineyard designate reserve, I'll pull a vineyard and express it by itself. But to the answer to your question is the majority player in my wines is the Rutherford.
Wonderful showing. And this one has a retail price point where, Michael?
85. And I do about 550 cases of this wine.
Beautiful. Great value and lovely wine. Thank you so much for starting off our night 1.
Good to be here, Ian. Thank you everybody for tuning in.
All right, buddy. We're going to head over to Medlock Ames, and we're going to switch out to from Napa Valley to the Alexander Valley. And Ames Morrison is on the Zoom with us. Ames, good to see you.
Hi.
See you again, I should say. We had the pleasure of having you on our Zoom last year, and it was just a knockout presentation, and I was really taken back by how beautiful. I think it was a Malbec dominated wine, and I can still remember it. It was really impressive.
Oh, so, good.
Super happy to have you back, and everything going well in Alexander Valley?
Yeah, so glad to get some rain finally. Everything's green and beautiful now.
We had a winery on earlier today that was out picking grapes today. Are you guys all done?
We're done. Yeah, that's late.
They were picking Chardonnay.
Wow.
Down in Monterey. So, but you guys are up in Alexander Valley, and let's get some wine in the glass, and I'll get your slideshow going, and you can tell us all about what's happening.
Great.
Oh, Mike, I didn't mean to cut off your award page, buddy. Let me go back to that real quick. Got to give Mike his 8 slide. Mike has got just a wonderful pedigree of double golds and gold medals and Sunset International Wine Competition.
Yeah, thank you for throwing that in there, Ian.
You bet, buddy. Thank you.
Got the wrong slide.
Right.
Oh, he does have the wrong slide, doesn't he? Okay, you guys are good. Go on.
All right, now we're going into Medlock Ames.
All right,
Did I have
good.
the wrong slide? That looks like the right slide for Mike's wine. Yeah. Now we're going into Medlock Ames, and I'll start at the top there, Ames. Here's your foray. We're going into this particular wine is a 2018 wine called 50 Tons, and James Suckling, 93 points in the Wine Spectator, or jamessuckling.com actually. Go for it. Go for it, Ames.
Great. Well, my name is Ames Morrison. I'm the co-founder of Medlock Ames. You can go to the next slide. Medlock Ames is an organic vineyard and winery located in the Alexander Valley of Sonoma County. We're 100% organic and have been for the past 16 years, certified for the past 16 years. We started about 25 years ago. My best friend and I moved out from New York to pursue our dream of making wine. And we built a winery and nursed an old kind of falling down vineyard back to health. But 2 years ago, we suffered a horrible loss in the Kincaid fire that swept through our vineyard in October of 2019. And it destroyed buildings. It burned about 20% of our vineyard, miles of deer fencing, and pretty much, our vineyard is 55 acres, but the entire property is 340 acres, and about 80% of it burned. And it was just devastating, but it was a real wake-up call for me. And so although we've been organic for many years, I realized we weren't doing enough, and we really needed to think long-term. We needed to think more about what impact we're having on the environment and what it's having on us, more than just sort of caring for our land organically. And so we did a lot of soul searching and thought carefully about what kind of company we want to be. And we identified several different areas that we just really wanted to improve. So here you can see some of our solar panels. And the first major goal we want to have is to get to net zero carbon emissions by 2030. Nice. And so the first step for us is to do a complete carbon footprint, which we've just completed. So we've got a ways to go to get down to zero, but sort of identifying the problem is the first step. So we've had solar panels on our property since 2004, but we want to massively increase the amount that we have. We're also converting our vineyard tractors and vineyard trucks over to electric powered, which can then be powered by solar electricity. Another area we really want to improve is our biodiversity. So here's an example of one of our owl boxes. We have these scattered throughout the vineyard. We have and barn owls fly around the vineyard at night, eating gophers or other vineyard pests. We've got many of these throughout the property. We want to massively increase the ones we have, and it sort of fits in our philosophy of farming with nature rather than against it. Sort of tapping into nature's power. To the way nature controls things is through a lot of diversity, many different species. Then the next, you go to the next slide. So another thing that we're really working to improve is our soil. Soil is sort of the basis of everything that we grow, and we want to protect it as best we can. And the most important way to do that is to keep it covered at all times. So we use cover crops, in particular flowering cover crops that attract beneficial insects. Those beneficial insects fly around the vineyard and eat vineyard pests. So it helps us, it makes it easier for us to farm organically. In the past, we used sheep and miniature cattle to graze a lot of the weeds in the vineyard. And we're bringing those back this winter. This is a way to recycle nutrients more quickly. And the biggest challenge we have as an organic farm is weed management. And every way you manage weeds organically, or in any way you manage weeds, there's trade-offs. It's either very expensive or there's just a lot of problems with weed management. By using grazing animals, it's just an elegant solution. These animals actually want to eat the weeds, so it's a good solution. Can you go to the next slide? The next big area we really want to improve is our water management. We have our soils are only about 24 to 36 inches deep, very shallow rooting. There's just not enough. There's just not enough soil to hold water to last us through the season. So we have to irrigate in order to ripen our crop. And but we want to be very judicious with our use of water. So we use a lot of different technology to make sure that we're only giving the vine exactly what it needs and no more. And in fact, we give the vine less than it needs because that makes the shoot stop growing and forces the vine to focus its energy on ripening. And that's especially important with Cabernet, because Cabernet is a later ripening variety. We're in a cooler part of our growing region. So we often are harvesting in November. And so if we can use water to speed up or delay use of water to speed up ripening, that has a positive impact on the wine quality. So in order to do all these things, and then another thing to point out is we have many different blocks. So all of the kind of darker red blocks, those are all Cabernet. So even if we have a wine that's 100% Cabernet, it's still going to be a blend. So blending is a really key, really a key component of the way we make our wines. This one we're going to taste is a blend of it's mostly Cabernet, but it has a little bit of Malbec blended in, and that Malbec gives it a little bit more power, but it also provides a little more fruit and softness. In Sonoma County, at our elevation, Cabernet tends to have a tannin. The tannin is extracted very easily. It gives up a lot of tannin into the wine very easily. We manage that with the way we ferment the wines, the temperature, what barrels we use help express or tamp down some of that tannin. But blending is another great technique, and so we like to use Malbec or Merlot to soften it out. So the wine we're tasting is what we call our 2018 50 tons. It gets its name from the very first year we found the vineyard in 1997. That winter was an El Nino year, which is known for very high rainfall. And we were worried that a lot of the terraces we have had not been maintained over the years, and we were worried they would blow out, they would collapse. So we hand stacked 50 tons of rock to protect these terraces. And it was really hard work and sort of a testament to that effort to save the land. And I learned the hard way that just because you can lift something that's heavy doesn't mean that you should. So my back still pays the price for that work.
Wow.
2018 was a wonderful vintage. It came right in between two really hard years. 2017, we had some wildfires and really high heat. 2019, we had more wildfires that actually damaged our property, but 2018 was just it was a dream year. Every year, you can always identify that one thing that happens during the growing season that prevents your wine from being perfect. And in 2018, that thing never came. It was sort of warm throughout the growing season, but without any heat spikes. And then in the fall, the temperature just dropped, and it was kind of like a refrigerator that just kept everything from. It wasn't cold, but it was just cooler and allowed the ripening to happen very slowly. Usually, when you wait, I find that generally when we wait to harvest, our wines taste better. But there's usually a trade-off for that. Usually means higher sugar, which means higher alcohol. But in 2018, the stars aligned, and it just gave us the flavor profile we wanted. And we finished harvesting in November, and it was nice not to be compelled by wildfire or imminent rain or high heat. It was it was ready.
Do you have the wine in your glass, Ames? Because
yeah.
We definitely want to spend a second talking about it. The wine is just so saturated and so beautiful. And how much Malbec is in here?
It's 16%.
I just love your Malbec. I just love what it does to the wine. I mean, I love the wine. It's just really, it separates itself in a unique way. And I love the nose in this thing. It's just really got a saturated plum skin, kind of a really interesting kind of an herb mixture, spice, herbs, and black olive and things like that. And it's really complicated and fun and delicious and deep.
Awesome, thank you.
Anyone have any comments or questions about the wine, or is there anything else you want to add there, Ames?
Yeah, I think the wine is just the best way to express what's unique about a property, and so it's really fun for me to share it with you all.
Well, thank you. And you have a really nice lineup of wines in your arsenal, and so all of you, when you go to Napa Valley, we can get appointments with Mike Trujillo, and then you can swing up to Alexander Valley and hit Medlock Ames. They got a great location. It's hard not to stop at Medlock Ames. I pass you every time I'm driving between Napa and Sonoma. You're right on the road there, and a great location. And I really like the label. I think I told you that last year. I just think it's very cool.
Thank you.
Well, we're off to a good start. We've had a couple of beauties, and I hope you guys are enjoying. Pia, it's so good to see you on the Zoom again. It's been a while. I hope you're doing well.
Hey, yeah, doing great. Thank you.
And Erica, too. So nice.
Hi, thank you.
Hey, Lisa Test. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Chap.
We got friends all over the place tuning in. Some of you, how many of you are doing this for the first time with us? Didn't see any hands raised. I think it's a lot of repeaters. Thank you all. Cheers for joining. I hope you're going to really see some beauties tonight. I think you will. We're heading into Acumen, and thank you, Ames, for your time. If anyone has wants to use the chat box down below, you could send some comments. That would be nice for the producers. If you have any kind of crazy questions you don't want to speak up and ask, I welcome you to do that, and I'm sure someone will respond either to you on the chat or right inside the program. All right, let's get Acumen, and we are now going to be speaking. I know, is it Diana's going to do it again?
Yeah.
All right, hi Diana.
Hi. How's it going?
Good.
Yeah, no, this is so great. I love this because it's an opportunity for me to get to hear what other winemakers and wineries are doing. And sometimes we get this opportunity if we're at trade shows or AVA tastings, and it's been almost a year and a half since we've had the opportunity to get together like this. So I'm at the top of Atlas Peak right here. This is my fake background because clearly it's dark outside. And I love showing, this is the Jan Krupp home, which is located in our Atlas Vineyard. So we have 116 acres here at the top of Atlas Peak. And this Atlas Vineyard is where our owners originally purchased back in 2012. So we're fairly young on the Napa scene of things. If you're going to visit us, you'll find us on downtown First Street, right across the street from the Archer and the Andes Hotel. So that's me. I've been around in the wine business my whole life. My brother and I, we've jokingly called ourselves child slave labor since the day we were born. My dad has had property on top of Spring Mountain since my grandfather first purchased 60 acres for $250 an acre way back when. And then they chose to, let's make a vineyard. And so, I remember, hiking up from the Santa Rosa side, clearing storm drains, and Dad took courses at UC Davis, encouraged us to go to Davis. I went to Chico State. My brother went to Davis. He learned to make wine. I learned how to sell it. So after, years of me working at companies like Hubline, Terlato, and Rosemount Estate, I ended up at my family for 13 years, and now I'm at Acumen. And Acumen to me today is family. That right there, that guy that you see on the horse is Jesus Gonzalez. He is our vineyard manager. He runs around those vineyards on his horse Cabernet. Everything is organically farmed, and that is how he overlooks our vineyards. Our 116 acres that's nestled in this nice little section in between Antica and Stagecoach, right at the top of Soda Canyon Road. And what we primarily grow up there is all the traditional Bordeaux varietals, with mostly devoted to Cabernet, a little to Sauvignon Blanc. We have two vineyards named Atlas, the smaller of the two, little lower elevation, and Edcora. Now, Edcora is the primary one. It's 85-acre vineyard. It has a lot of red volcanic soil. It gets its name from the rare red diamond called Edcora, and its red color comes from the rust off the andesite rock. Okay,
I'll bring back your PowerPoint in a second, but it wouldn't change slides, so let me get that back up. And
okay. Anything else you wanted me to touch on real quick?
I think you're doing great. Here comes the Edcora slide.
Boom. Okay.
Okay.
Difference between A Tale of Two Vineyards. So 84-32, we hope that adds up to 116 based on the last math I've done. Yes, we've all talked about fires, and we did have a little bit of fire damage back in 2017. It's, undo, repair, grow back. I mean, it's vineyards have to be torn out. It's just all the health of the vineyards. But on an average, that's where we're at. So 116 acres, we're about 5,000 to 7,000 case production. You don't just make that. We had, can you please go back?
Sure. Sorry.
Thank you. So we do sell, because this leads into the next part of my story.
Yes.
Okay, namely Chapelet. And recently we've, really upped our grape contracts, because with 116 acres, you don't make wine from all of those grapes. So we do sell a fair amount of those grapes. So Chapelet is very key into our story. So now you can move on to the next slide, please.
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice list of customers.
What?
Nice list of customers and clients.
It is. Yeah. New ones too. More on board. Okay. Phillip Titus. I love working with this guy. We acquired Phillip to be our winemaker during COVID, May of 2020. And it's a super special relationship for me for a few reasons. One, he's worked with his own family. Two, he works with another vineyard. And now the two of us get to work together. So putting our two heads together on what we want to do is just this area of creativity where we get to come together and brainstorm what can we do to make the best of what it is that we have to work with the grapes that the Acumen vineyards are growing. Phillip has worked for 30 years with Don Chapelet. He's still their main winemaker. He works with us as well. And he and I are doing a lot of fun things. When I first came to Acumen 2.5 years ago, all we had was Sauvignon Blanc and Cab. Now we're making a Rosé of Merlot, which just got a 93-point score. We put it in a big, sexy bottle, and the owners were at first hesitant. And I told them what we would do with it, that we'd be sold out by Christmas. We were sold out by the 4th of July. We sold this wine out before it even hit the wine enthusiast buyer's guide. So we've now ventured off, and we're going to be doing a Cabernet Franc together. And it's a really great relationship that the two of us have working together. So it's kind of like fire and gas. I'm in sales, Phillip's in production. So it's a lot of fun. All right, we can go on to the next slide. So I want to talk about this 2019 Peak Cab, because I feel as though it's a little gutsy. But what happened when I originally said that I was going to participate in this, I was very proud that I'd be able to present our 2018. We opened up our tasting room, which had, let's just go back to our tasting room for a second. It's on First Street in downtown Napa. An area that you would think, there it is. There's the front entrance right there where it says Acumen. An area that you think would be very highly populated. And for the longest time, the team just ran it by appointment only. Nobody knew what we were. They thought we were an art gallery. They basically had no idea what we were. So now that we've opened the doors, and we are by appointment, or you can just walk in, we've started selling a bunch of wine. And our wines are so good. So when people walk in, they're pleasantly surprised. Let's go back to the next slide now, please.
Sure.
Thank you. So really, we sold through our 17s and our 18s super fast, faster than I've ever experienced in my 30 years of my career doing this. I've never had a sold out problem. So I contacted Ian and I said, all right, I've got to show my 19 for this. And he said, all right, go for it. So let's talk a little bit about the Peak Cab, because I think the 19 is showing really well. And after Phillip gave his nod of approval and told me, you're going to have a lot of fun with this wine, all the confidence was built back into my spine. So Peak Cab is a blend of two vineyards. I mentioned the Atlas and I mentioned the Edcora. The 2013 was the inaugural vintage after we purchased the Edcora vineyard. Both the 15 and the 16 received 100-point scores. Atlas is the other single vineyard that goes into this. So we have these two blended together where our winemaker is enabled to basically choose from his spice rack. And what he has is the powerhouse from the Edcora, but he has the real lushness, the real soft natural acidity that comes from the Atlas vineyard. And you blend these two together, and I love this because it comes from Karen McNeil, where she takes her little graph and she goes like this. And that's what you get when you make this Peak Cabernet. So you have these two single vineyards that are priced a little bit higher than this Peak Cab. And hands over fist, this Peak Cab is the favorite of the consumers. And that is why I chose this wine to show as Stars of Cabernet.
Thank you.
I would have loved to have shown our Mountainside Cab. It's an easy breezy price point. It's only $65. This is $115. But what you get is the real terroir in this wine. You're getting what the flavors that are really coming from the fruit that is grown in these grapes, from the soil and everything else. So this is $115 a bottle. It just, I always get a little nervousness, and then before I submit this to wine reviewers, and then I just print the FedEx label. And it came back with a Wine Advocate score of 93 points, because I will submit to only, the wine writers that are going to give it a real score that people aren't going to be like, oh, where was that written? And,
Well, I think it's showing great. I don't know if you felt that energy in the presentation, but I just literally poured it all over my lap.
Oh no! Well, hey, what could be more exciting than a Wednesday night?
I'm wearing the Peak Cabernet, and but no, I was able to taste it earlier, and it's just, there's no reason to apologize for pouring this wine now. It is so delicious and so approachable, and really already showing some really cool complexities and a beautiful nose.
Thank you. Yeah, I poured it at the Atlas Peak AVA tasting, and there was a lot of positive response to it. And I've never released a wine this young, and you know what? We're sold out, so we're going to go for it. The single vineyards are still going to be on the 18. I still have about 30 cases left on both the Atlas and the Edcora single vineyards, but we're headed into the holidays, and winemaker feels confident. I'm obviously getting some great reviews and great consumer feedback, so I'm going to go for it.
Beautiful. Well, thanks for bringing the great Peak from Acumen 2019, and I'll be up there in Napa Valley soon. I'm going to come and check out that new tasting room, and really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ian. You have a great program. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Ian, I have a question real quick.
Yes.
Go for it.
Diane, we're really interested in possibly for bidding for your wine, and I know it includes a tasting. What would we be tasting there besides what we're tasting tonight?
Oh my goodness. You're going to get a splash of our brand new sparkling rosé, some Sauvignon Blanc from the estate, the two single vineyards, and something out of the library.
Okay. Nice. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Beauty.
And we have an art gallery. Can I?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so not only are we a tasting room, we are a rotating art gallery. So we have this, it's most of our real estate, and we rotate artists throughout every 6 weeks. And I have the most exciting artist coming in on December 1st. He has invented a game during COVID called Terra Ball. And it's basically a pool table meets foosball. And he has these like leather things that you can actually change, and you roll balls across it, and there's a scoreboard and everything else. So we're going to allow people to come in, and it's an interactive art exhibit is basically what it is. And so we will be changing artists. Right now we have Laura Titus, Phillip's wife, our winemaker's wife that's in there. But we're going to be changing these out every 6 weeks now. I just hired a brand new art curator, so it's super exciting. So you'll get the opportunity to see that as well. And I have a type 42, so I also carry French champagnes.
Nice. Well, it sounds like a dynamic spot.
Yeah, it's fun.
Another attraction for downtown Napa. There's so much going on there, and really a fun place to come.
And I have dueling pianos. I have hired a Vegas act.
Oh, wow. There you go.
And we sell out. So during the slower months of the year, we do have dueling pianos, and it's $45 to $50 a person to come in and just enjoy, sing along, and interactive with the piano players. It's really fun.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Thank you. And
thank you.
We are now going to hang out with Steve Tonella. Steve, how are you out there?
I'm well. How's everybody doing?
I'm a little wet, but I'm saturating. I'm soaking in Cabernet. I'm feeling nice.
Could be a lot worse.
Yeah, let me get you on the spotlight there, buddy. There we go. And thank you, Diana.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
All right, and here comes your slideshow, dude. So, I'm assuming everything went well with 21 Harvest.
Yeah, we haven't talked about this, but I'm sure my colleagues would add some detail here. But we came in with very good quality this year. A little bit light, I should say, quite a bit light. It's been my lightest year in terms of yields since I started in 2010. We were down about 40%. I've heard stories of the yield being down from 30% to 70%. So the good news is we didn't have any calamities outside of the pandemic, but we did have good quality, just a very low yield. So after 2020, it would have been nice to get a larger yield, but it's in the hands of a power outside of ours in terms of Mother Nature. So grateful for a very good harvest. If we're doing this tasting in 3+ years, I hope we all have wine to share.
Yeah, that's going to be a big challenge for California, and an opportunity for vintners. But the absence of many wineries making 2020 wine, and a very good streak of very good vintages, but not all of them have been large. So coffers, wine cellars are getting a little thin, and people are moving into 19 vintage wines already. And so I see some challenges in supply that we haven't had for quite a while. So it'll be a pretty dynamic marketplace. But Steve, you got a great history, and I'd love for you to expand upon that.
Well, I could talk for 2 minutes or 2 hours for each wine, but I think I have 7 or 8 minutes. So I'm Steve Tonella. I'm a 4th generation vintner from Rutherford, Napa Valley. The gentleman that you see there in your upper left square of the slide here was my great uncle. His name was Joseph Ponte. Long story short, he came over from northern Italy in late 1906. He was having lunch in Rutherford in January of 1907. He met somebody named George Latour, who was the founder and original owner of Pili Vineyards, which has been continuously operating since the year 1900. And he went from a vineyard worker to the foreman to doing everything from the vineyards to the winemaking. and he was there from 1907 to 1950. So, he went through a lot of difficult periods, such as, the last pandemic, the Great Depression, World War I, World War II, and this nasty thing that I refer to as, or we all refer to as, prohibition. And so, a lot of grit and endurance during that time. But the good news is, Beaulieu had a good relationship with the Catholic Church, and so they made sacramental wine. Therefore, the congregation increased quite a bit during Prohibition. And I think at one point, Beaulieu had almost 80% of the sacramental wine market in the United States. So it was a good sign of survival, I guess, and endurance for sure. If you look at the upper right picture, that is what we call the Rutherford Bench, which Mike Trujillo opened with. That's a view going into the little vineyard where my wine comes from, and Gary Morzoli up towards the hillside there. And that's all bench land, very well drained, rocky, gravelly soil, ideal for Bordeaux varietals. And it's a great piece of land. It's a terroir that really can't be replicated. So I'm very lucky and privileged to be representing wines from Rutherford. And if we can move forward. So yeah, I just kind of talked about the heritage of it. The vineyard where my state, the single vineyard wine comes from is, the Rutherford Bench. As you can see, it's not a very pretty vineyard in terms of a trellis system or a nice chorus line of rows. It's trained at a vertical cordon style where the fruit zone is basically from knee height to chest height. And there's radiating spurs and shoots that provide natural canopy to the grapes and good airflow, a lot of sunflex. We manage this vineyard by hand. I think about 5% of Napa Valley vineyards are managed by hand. They're usually on quite steep hillsides. So, this is a smaller vineyard, more artisan. So obviously it doesn't lend itself to large scale production, but the upshot for us, at least, is that we can manage the health and the vigor of each vine. The vines are about 23 years old. So I would call that safely mature vines, very healthy, very low disease pressure. We farm organically. We can't call ourselves organic just because of the surrounding vineyards. But it's a nice piece of vineyard and a very healthy vineyard. Here's some shots of Rutherford. What I'd like to highlight in this slide is that for the first time, I have what's called a street legal tasting room. And we are just off of Silverado Trail, about 3.5 miles east. We have a nice view of the valley. On a clear day, you can see San Francisco. So if anybody here is interested in coming to Napa Valley, please feel free to reach out. We'd love to host you. Next slide, please.
Just alerting everybody that Lisa Test is now in the silent auction, and that means bad things for everybody.
Yeah, and I already kind of described this vineyard, a couple things about it is there's 2 Bordeaux clones in this small little vineyard. We produce about 500 cases every year, depending on the vintage. Some years less, some years more. I think the lowest yielding vintage was this year, and before that it was 2015. It's called collector's vintage for a good reason, is because there's little supply and equal to greater demand. So it will be a good vintage. And what I wanted to say about the clones is there are 2 Bordeaux clones that are rarely planted outside of Bordeaux, known for the small berry size and phenolics, as well as extraction from the skins. So, Mike was talking about that, big cherry and the fine tannins. A lot of our tannin structure that aligns with that comment come from the skins. So you do get those fine tannins. And I would say we restrain the oak program just because of that color extraction and fine tannins from the skin. So generally our oak program is all French. It's about 70% new with a medium toast or less for 18 months. So hopefully as I'm talking, you're swirling the wine, you're tasting the wine. I welcome any comments or questions to make this interactive. I won't read the tasting notes there. I'll let the wine do the talking, but I hope you're enjoying this 2018 vintage. We actually released in spring of this year. I might have let a few bottles go towards the end of December last year to some of my collectors, but generally this is a current vintage. We just completed our fall release, and hope you enjoy. Welcome any questions.
Beautiful. Well, it's showing really nicely. It's a youthful wine. This is 2018. Certainly could benefit from a few more years in the cellar. Steve, when is your optimal drinking window forecast?
I release when I think it's ready to drink. I don't decant the wine. I like to see it open up in the glass. So I think after a little bit of aeration, it definitely evolves in the glass. So, I'm, people ask me how long, to age this, my honest answer is, I don't know. I would say my 2010s are tasting really great right now. So I think, between now and, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, if stored correctly, it's gonna be tasting fantastic. Those tannins are just gonna round out, the wine's gonna integrate more and more. So I think it's just gonna keep getting better and better.
Beautiful, beautiful wine. Thank you very much for being with us, and it was great to see you again. And I've really enjoyed sending some of our clients up to see you, and they've really enjoyed meeting you as well.
Thank you. Hope to see you again in 3D soon.
Me too.
I'm sorry, what's the price on it?
Oh, on the Tonella. Yes, please.
It's $125.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Any other questions from our group?
Steve, we love your wine, and I always, when I think about your wine, it's like this. I don't know if this is a special term, but fleshy lux, like this amazing layered cake kind of experience. That it's just amazing. It's just we love your wine.
Thank you.
Delicious.
Maybe you can write my tasting notes for me.
Will do.
Nice. Well, we have journeyed throughout a couple locations in the Napa Valley, and we've touched Alexander Valley, but now we're going to head south to a place that I think you're going to be really impressed with, and that's called Happy Canyon. That's in Santa Barbara. Let me get that open here. And we're going to be tasting with AJ Fairbanks, the estate director at Crown Point Vineyards. Hello, AJ.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me okay.
Thank you. You sound great.
Wonderful.
Let me get you in there. I'm trying to highlight you. I see you. And there we are, sir. Welcome and pleasure to have you on the Zoom.
Yeah, it's wonderful to be here. It's always great to hear these every day I learn of a new winery, and today's no exception. So I've enjoyed listening to everyone and being involved. So it's always nice to be on the other side of it. A lot of great insight.
Well, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with Crown Point, but we've had the pleasure of having Crown Point at a number of our events over the past decade or so, probably more like the last 5 years or so. You guys were established, 2012, 2013?
Yeah, that was the inaugural vintage for the winery is 2013, and Happy Canyon was an established AVA in 2009. So very, very early in our metamorphosis.
Well, I was able to interview the winemaker just a short time ago, so I'll play the video with him, and then we'll taste with you. Is that okay?
Sounds wonderful.
Fine. It's time for the show and your host, in Blackburn.
All right, it's with my great pleasure I get to introduce you to Simon Ferry, winemaker, Crown Point. Did I do okay on the pronunciation, Simon?
It was a C at best.
Yeah. Tell me, give me the correct French.
Simon Ferry. People stumble on the Simon. It's really hard to pronounce. But you know, I've been called many names, and I just roll with it.
Well, I appreciate the correct pronunciation. So tonight we're tasting the Crown Point. Just got 97 points, Jeb Dunnick. That's a fantastic score. And tell us about yourself and Crown Point.
Yeah, I came to Crown Point a few years ago after spending 9 years in Napa. And before that, traveling the world to make wine. You may tell from the pronunciation and the name that I'm from France. I'm originally from Lyon in France. I worked in Bordeaux for a while. I got my master's in Bordeaux. I originally started in Italy because where I'm from is not too far from the Italian border, and I just love Italy and Italian wine. So I also got my winemaking and agronomy degree from Italy. I worked in Piemonte and Barolo for many years, and then I decided that for a French guy it'd be important to kind of work in France at least a little bit. So I went to school in Bordeaux, and I worked at Domaine de Chevalier in Château-Pichon-Longueville. I met Michel Roland at that time, who kind of guided me towards California. He said, if you're a young buck and you want to travel the world, go to California. So I worked at Robert Mondavi Winery, Harlan Estates, and Maryvale in Napa Valley. I worked for Michel in Argentina, and also a little bit in Australia while I was kind of touring the world. And so to go full circle, when I came to Crown Point, I was working in Napa Valley with Philippe Malka on a certain project, and Philippe mentioned Crown Point. He was working with Crown Point. He said, you know, I think it'd be cool for you. So he put me in touch with the owner, and we hit it off well. We worked together, and to close the circle with Michel, I wanted to get Michel Roland's opinion on Crown Point, and so we brought him here. So the project started in 2013. So that's why we want to have someone with a lot of experience to kind of give us his world, you know, insights and things like that. Here we have a map of the vineyard. So it's started in 2013, like I mentioned. The owner, Roger, came from Texas. He was a cattle rancher and has horses in Texas. And in our area, there's a lot of horse breeding and thoroughbred. So that's kind of how he discovered the place. And he thought this would be a great area for Cabernet Sauvignon. So we have 45 acres. About 35 of them are planted to Cabernet Sauvignon, and 10 acres left split in between Merlot, Cab Franc for the most part, a touch of PV, about 1 acre of Petit Verdot, and 1.5 acres of Sauvignon Blanc now, and 1 acre of Malbec as well. It's not necessarily known for Cabernet yet, but it's a little bit like the Napa Valley, where you have different climates depending on where you are in the valley, as close, you know, how far are you from the ocean? And you have the clay that kind of coats those tannins, that brings that mid palate. So it's super interesting to work with both. Another way to kind of really get the full spectrum on the property is that, you know, Cabernet Sauvignon has a very dark, very round texture, but the Cab Franc is much more floral, much more lively, and that is a really good fit for the Cabernet Sauvignon. So we kind of discovered, as the Cab Franc is maturing and aging, that the Cab Franc has a really interesting impact into the wines that we're making. So it's a new take on the Bordeaux blend, because it's not done there much, the Cab Franc Cabernet Sauvignon, and here in California I think it works really well, hand in hand. So not only the vineyard is phenomenal, but Roger spared no expense into building a state-of-the-art facility. We've got amazing tools to make, I think, great wines. Great wines don't reside in technology. It's not about technology. It's about getting a feel for the site, for the place. So nothing, crazy, but everything is done with great touch. We have oak fermenters, concrete fermenters. The focus is really onto the wines. We've got very classical, beautiful tools that enable us to make phenomenal wine. It's all gravity fed, so the wines, the grapes are going to the tanks by gravity. Then we drain the wines by gravity as well, and the wines will spend about 2 years in French oak. 50% new and 50% once used. We don't want to kind of put too much focus on the oak, really want the site to express itself. The oak is just a way to, just a means to an end, really. It's a way for the wines to be raised in the cellar, really. And we've kind of fine-tuned the coopers. We work with about 5 different coopers hand in hand into getting the right toast levels, getting the right oak seasoning for the wines to really shine, and not the other way around. So you are working in a region where Cabernet is new, with great potential. Kind of the pages are blank. It's not like when you're in Bordeaux and there's 1,000 years or more almost of experience, but it's very rewarding for that matter.
That's beautiful. Well, obviously the results are coming, and your vision, your investment as a team is paying off. It's a beautiful wine. We're going to taste it now with your team, and we thank you for being on our Zoom. It's great to see you. If people want to come up to the winery, is it available for appointments?
Yeah, by appointment only. You can reach it on the website, crownpointvineyards.com. What's super excited for us is that we're about 2 hours. If you're a slow driver from LA, an hour 30 to 2 hours, depending on where you are. And it's really close. We have a lot of people visiting from LA, from LA area in general, and it's just beautiful. We think about Santa Barbara as LA's wine country, and we definitely see a lot of people coming from LA.
Question from last year, Simon. Are you single?
No.
I had some lovely ladies last year ask me to ask you that question, so I just thought I'd tackle that today.
Oh, thank you.
Simon, pleasure, man. Great job. Love the wine. I love the project, and congratulations.
Cheers.
All right. Great. The wine is showing so well. AJ, you've got the easy job now, man.
Yeah, no, it's put up on a tee for me, right? No, I don't have to go too far into it. A note you referred to earlier, I think you said metallic. I don't know what but there's an iron element to this wine right now. There's sort of that for lack of a better term, that bloodiness to the wine. And then when I first sniffed it, I really appreciate when I popped the bottle up here, because it was indicative of place. And why Happy Canyon? Why Santa Barbara? There's so many, how do you differentiate yourself in this day and age? There's so many wineries out there. There's so many regions. I mean, it's a great time, but it gets confusing as a consumer. And really, for us, it is our proximity to the Pacific Ocean. As a crow flies in the southern exposure, we're 11 miles from the ocean. I see Hector and Gina on there. They can attest to this. They've stayed in our guest house a couple of times, facing directly into the back of the coastal range that's right up against Santa Barbara. We're behind that coastal range. It's in between us and the ocean. You take out the San Ynez mountain range, 3,000 foot high. It's what you come over when you drive into San Ynez Valley. We're 30 to 40 degrees cooler. It's not only an impact on us, but all of Santa Barbara, but in particular, Happy Canyon. Without that coastal range in between us, we're avocados, right? We're not, at best, we're Pinot Noir Chardonnay. So and so when you smell it in the wine, when you smell that Mediterranean element to it, it really distinguishes where we're from. There's that thread of place that I love. And you know, if it's 100 degrees in Napa for, you know, some of our you know, my constituents that have been on here today, we're probably about 95 degrees. You know, our growing season's a touch longer. So you're tasting the 16 right now, and we have a very fine grained tannin. I think that speaks to the Mediterranean region as well too, being just a touch cooler, a little bit longer growing season. So I love seeing the notes that represent the place in the wine. That's what's really important for me and for us, for our team.
Well, I've been in touch with this project since the get-go, and I also stayed in that guest house back in before it was probably as nice as what Hector found. I think it was about 2013-14, and I've seen this property and the wine progress, and I really think you guys have found the style that you've been searching for. This wine is gorgeous. It is showy. It is, so likable and so charming, so easy to just sink your teeth into. And I know that it's benefiting from having a couple of years in the bottle, and the 16 is, but that's probably part of being in a slightly cooler climate is you're going to have a little bit more patience on the release, and you're in a good spot. This 16 is jaw-dropping.
Oh, I appreciate that. That's very, very high praise. Thank you so much.
And if I might make a comment.
Go ahead, Terrence.
I just, it's really interesting to have an opportunity to taste another terroir, another AVA, and so it's very, very good, outstanding, and it's so on Napa that I'm very, very impressed. And it's a jewel with its own colors, and it's very unique. And I think I'm going to do a blind tasting where I'm going to pull out some juice from Napa, some juice from Sonoma, some juice from Santa Barbara, and let the people decide for themselves.
That is I can't thank you enough for that, because I hope this is being recorded. We're a small but mighty team, and it's that kind of feedback that motivates us and excites us and why we do it. So that is very high praise. I greatly appreciate that. We do, you know, we want to represent Cabernet Sauvignon, the Bordeaux varieties well, but we also want to be true to our site. So thank you for that. That's very appreciated.
Welcome.
That's cool. Well, AJ, thank you so much for bringing this wine to us. And what price point are we?
This is $150 a bottle. All of our wines across the board are $150 a bottle.
So you'll be able to pick that up tonight, guys, direct from the winery. And again, you'll be on their list. That'll be important in the future when you're visiting Santa Barbara. And that's a really good thing to have in your visitation log. So thank you so much, AJ. Great to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you, everyone.
I'm always fascinated by what Erica is talking about, because I'm watching her crack up with
Trust me, you don't want to know.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm just happy to see somebody smiling. It's great. We have been moving right along. We're through wine number 5, but we're not done yet. We've got Linda Neal, and Linda's actually on the Zoom. Hello, Linda. Where are you tonight? Oh, I'm going to ask you to unmute. Just got to click that screen. Linda wasn't sure she could make it, so we actually recorded earlier.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Are you
All
in
right,
Vegas?
Well, I am coming to you live from Wichita, Kansas, the Marriott Courtyard.
Wow, fantastic.
It's the sexy side of the wine business.
That is truth right there. That is truth. Well,
But Ian, it's super fun to be with you tonight. I've enjoyed listening to all the vintners, some old friends, Mike and Steve, and some new friends, and getting to be familiar with some new wines. And you always do such a first-class job, and great to see our consumer friends. Terrence, haven't seen you in too many years, buddy. And I'd love, even just a picture of you is great.
that's so cool.
That's very nice, Linda. Thank you.
Well, let's take a look at your presentation. We commented about this hairdo a few days ago.
Yeah, I wish I still had that hair.
Well, you still have this beautiful property and this beautiful label, Tierra Roja. And Linda, I'll leave it to you. Do you want me to show the video, or do you want to do this live?
No, let's do it live.
You got it.
The only thing the video had was a picture of the vineyard in the background, but look, we have these other pictures. It's great. Yeah. So for me, it's all about the earth, and I just feel so blessed to have landed in this little piece of heaven. David Howell, one of our favorite geologists that works with Oakville wine growers quite a bit, taught me that this is just one gigantic piece of lava that's been decomposing for millions of years. And you see that blazing red color that we named the property for. Tierra Roja is Spanish for red earth. And that's really what it's all about. This picture was taken from when we cut the terraces back in 1988. The property had actually been farmed clear back into the 20s. We'll see a picture of that. Oh, maybe we already saw. We already saw.
Go back to that.
Yeah, go back. This picture of Ron Di Natale farming the property back in the 20s with the horse-drawn plow, which was one of the main things that was an inspiration for the label. Yeah, go ahead. And anyway, I just feel really blessed to be here again. You could see that one of the big rocks there, they're all over the place. When you first pull them out of the ground, it looks like a piece of granite. It just, it's a gray rock when you break it open. But as it wears away, as it rusts, I mean, it's literally rusting, that's what creates this brilliant red soil. Full of iron. Of course, the red color comes from the high iron content from the lava. And just beautiful little slice of heaven I call home.
Well, your home is in a nice neighborhood, Linda. We always talk about the importance of location in the restaurant business, but location in the wine business can be very important too. Take a look at her neighbors. She's got Rudd Estate right across the street, Dalival right behind her, Peter Michael's Au Paradis Vineyard right below Dalival, Joseph Phelps Bacchus Vineyard right next to Tierra Roja, and then across the street, a couple of neighbors, a very famous vineyard called Tench, and then the slouches right below them called Screaming Eagle.
Well, you know, the Joseph Phelps people say that the only reason Screaming Eagle is so good is because of all the soil that fell off of their hill.
That's what the Napa Valley is. It's just a big eroded belly of soils from the surrounding mountain ranges, and yours is a really unique site in a beautiful spot. I found this map wasn't in our presentation when we talked before, but is there anything you want to talk about here?
No, I think most of your followers, your people that are participating tonight are probably very familiar with the Napa Valley, but just in case, Oakville is right in the heart of it, right in the center of it, and Tierra Roja is right there in the heart of that. So again, as you were saying, just a great location, surrounded by some well-known, lovely vineyards, and then there's Little Me. We never make more than 250 cases, very tiny production.
And you're about 7 acres total with 5 planted, if I remember correctly.
That's about right.
And you've been doing this vineyard thing for a long time. This is not, you're not a tech billionaire that bought some land in the Napa Valley. You are a lifer in this business, right?
Right, and you know, one of the interesting things is when we bought the property, I was married at the time, and when Michael and I bought the property, we had no idea how we were going to make those payments. It was more than we could even imagine, and yet if I told you what we paid for it now, looking at the prices today, you'd cry. Yeah. Because it was a huge amount to us at the time, but looking back, it was the best investment possible. And if you see the picture on the left, of course, I'm much younger there. That's from a wonderful book called Napa Valley, The Land, the Wine, the People. And but if you come and visit me today, I'm still wearing the same hat and the same bandana. and spend most of my time out in the vineyard, which is the part that I really love. But then I also love this. It's really fun to connect with the people who actually enjoy the wine, and it gives what we do meaning.
Well, it's a great story, and you've obviously got some great chemistry with your team. This is cool.
Oh, I have a wonderful vineyard manager, Ruben Rubio, right there, the guy in the blue check shirt. And the same guys work at the vineyard year round. I used to have a vineyard management company for over 20 years, and Ruben worked for me during those years. And then he went on, I retired from that business, and he went on to have his own business. So it's really a privilege to work with his team. They're trained the right way and just do a great job. We work together all year long.
Well, this year you had some pretty exciting news when I got to come up and see you. I was able to taste at your premiere party, and you announced some new winemaking talent is joining your team. That's pretty exciting stuff.
Well, I have been blessed, as you know, with two previous fabulous winemakers that really have managed to bring out the expression of Tierra Roja. David DeSanti, creating the 2003 through the 2015 vintages. Then that was taken over by Jeff Ames, another really talented winemaker, mid-2015 through nearly the end of 2019. But I am just over the moon with Benoit Turcat. I am so excited. If it is possible that we could actually even do something better than we've done in the past, I know that we're going to do it with Benoit. He's so passionate and so in love with the vineyard, and I am just head over heels working with him. We walk the vineyards together and really collaborate as a team, and it's just really exciting.
Well, he's quite a notable talent, and he's gaining he's quite a rising star, but he's already got 35 100-point wines under his belt, and he's making some pretty exciting wine for some pretty exciting clients. So I think he's in the right company, working with your beautiful spot.
Well, I hope that Tierra Roja becomes his absolute favorite vineyard. That's my goal.
Well, we are tasting the brand new 2018, and it's always been my experience with your vineyard, and I've had the great fortune of being able to taste probably every wine that you've made for the past, is it 15 vintages, Linda? How many?
Yes, isn't that hard to believe?
Crazy. And your wines always take a little time to come to hit their stride and their potential, because that site so severe. This isn't a place that you want to rush the production. Nice slow wine that develops, and so taste it now. But man, if you get a chance to taste the 18 in the future, you're gonna just totally see why site is so important, because this wine is great now and gets even better in about 3, 4, 5 years. 5 years being kind of the magic number, I think, for a lot of wines. And so 2023, I think this wine really turns a cool corner. The wine is tasting great, smelling really beautiful, but really tightly wound at this point. And I just think it's going to be explosive in the future. I think 18 does find a really nice gear.
Well, thank you. Thank you for all the compliments. I think you're right. It's really a wine that, yes, we think it's drinkable now, or we wouldn't be releasing it, but they do just get better and better and better with time. The last few weeks, as I've been doing introductory events for this new vintage, we still keep going back over and over again to the 2004. We opened a 6-liter of the 04 at one of the events, and it was just so incredibly delicious. It was heartbreaking that there wasn't any left to sell. So you have to put them away. You have to have the patience if you want to really, really have that experience down the road.
Well, This 18 is gorgeous. I'd love to open it up to anybody that's got questions for Linda with Tierra Roja.
Yes, please. That's why I'm here, is to meet all of you folks.
Yeah.
Oh, they're quiet.
They're a quiet group tonight, but I do see quite a bit of chatter.
What is the price on it?
So this is $170 a bottle.
And you sell through your mailing list. Oleg, as you're also a restaurateur, Linda's got a broker that can handle that wine for you too.
Okay.
Yes. So we're direct in California, but I'm blessed with a wonderful fellow, Kent Parahan, represents me in Southern California. And he'll come out and visit you anytime, or I'll come down and visit you. The restaurant placements are very important to me. There's very limited retail. There's only 4 retailers that have this wine in the country. And that's because we really want to focus on it being a restaurant wine as well as direct to consumer. If you go to the website, it will tell you that we're sold out. But as Ian knows, we held a few bottles back for this event. So I think you're going to be sending out an announcement about that after the event, right?
That's right. The link that we have goes straight to the landing page for Linda's wine. So if you're interested in picking up a few bottles of Tierra Roja, your opportunity will be there. And Linda, I'm, just so appreciative that you continue to come back and see us, and we get to watch this beautiful project continue to bend and twist and turn with each of the amazing vintage stories, and I can't wait for the future.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to do more events with you, Ian. You always put on the first class events, and I'm privileged to be included. Thank you very much.
Couldn't do it without you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, gang, you just tasted our flights for tonight. That's our Stars Cabernet Night 1. And we'll be back tomorrow night with 6 other amazing Cabernets. I hope most of you are able to return again tomorrow. But thank you for your participation. And you guys got to get a little louder tomorrow night. I want to challenge you guys to speak up and ask more questions and get more involved. Talk about what you're smelling, tasting. I think you're all worked a little hard today, so you'll have a good night's sleep now, and you'll get some rest, and we'll see you tomorrow night. Erica, you can share your chat box with me.
I direct messaged you. I think the kids say DM'd or something.
Oh, okay. I'll check that out.
Okay.
Thank you, AJ and Steve and Michael and all of you winers.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Reach
Enjoy
out
the wine.
Everyone.
Have a good night.
Reach out to me if you're going to go to wine country so I can put you in touch with any of these guys, okay? Thanks, everybody. Have a great night. See you at Stars Cabernet Night 2.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Cheers.